They left you. They talked about you. They rejected you. But what if I told you that this was divine strategy, not failure? That your isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. And the pain you've been carrying isn't proof that you're forgotten. It's the proof that you're marked for something higher. You are not cursed. You're chosen. And chosen ones, they don't fit in because they're not supposed to. You've sat in the silence. You've cried in the dark. And while others celebrated with friends, surrounded by laughter and acceptance, you've walked alone. Not because you're broken, but because God had to separate you before He elevated you. He had to remove the noise before He could reveal the voice, the one inside of you, the one meant to awaken nations. When you are truly chosen, rejection becomes your teacher, loneliness becomes your forge, and every moment that you felt forgotten was actually God taking you off the grid. So the enemy couldn't track your destiny. Think about it. When was the last time something truly life-changing happened in the crowd? It's always in the quiet places, in the wilderness, in the silence, when it's just you and your thoughts, your fears, your faith, that something sacred begins to grow. You're not being hidden to hurt you. You're being hidden to prepare you. And while others chase clout and crave attention, your spirit is going deeper. Your roots are growing strong where no one can see, because when the storm comes, the ones with no roots fall. But you were being rooted in pain, so you could rise in purpose. Yes, it hurts. The loneliness, the silence, the sting of rejection from people you thought would stand beside you. It feels personal, doesn't it? But what if I told you it was never about you being unworthy? It was because your presence made them uncomfortable. Your light disrupted their darkness. Your authenticity exposed their masks. And when people can't handle your truth, they'll try to silence your presence. That's not failure. That's confirmation. Every chosen one must pass through the season of isolation. Even the greatest figures in history, prophets, leaders, visionaries, were misunderstood, cast out, and forced to walk alone before they stepped into their calling. Moses was exiled before leading a nation. David was left in the fields before becoming king. Jesus himself was rejected in his own town. So tell me, if you feel rejected, misunderstood, and alone, doesn't that sound familiar? You keep asking, why me? But the real question is, why not you? The very things that make you feel different, your sensitivity, your depth, your yearning for truth, are the indicators that you were never meant to live an average life. You were born with a different frequency, a spiritual assignment. That means others won't always understand you. But don't let that make you shrink. Don't let the crowd that left you convince you that you're not worthy of the stage you're about to step on. Right now, it may feel like you're stuck, like life put you on pause while others are moving forward. But the truth is, you're not stuck. You're being still. Still enough to hear the instructions. Still enough to notice what others overlook. Still enough to evolve. And evolution doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the silence. You're not rejected. You're being redirected. Redirected toward the version of you that can carry the weight of your destiny. Because the calling on your life is too heavy to carry with weak character, shallow faith, or cheap approval. God needed to strip away the crutches, the noise, the false support systems, not to leave you empty, but to show you how strong you really are when it's just you and Him. Your solitude is sacred, because in solitude, you begin to see things clearly. You begin to remember who you are without the need to perform. And when you rediscover that, when you reconnect to the divine within you, you realize that you never needed the crowd. The crowd needed you. They just didn't know it yet. You see, when a chosen one is in the crowd, their light gets mistaken for a threat. Their presence stirs insecurities. That's why you were removed, not because you weren't good enough, but because your presence was too powerful to be handled by people still playing small. You weren't born to fit into broken systems. You were born to challenge them. That pain you've been carrying, it's not in vain. Every tear, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, it's all part of the refinement. You're not being punished. You're being purified, molded, tempered, like steel and fire. Because when you come out of this, you won't be the same. You'll be wiser, stronger, bolder, and ready for the mission you were born to fulfill. And maybe you've been wondering why your prayers haven't been answered yet. Maybe you've been crying out, asking God when it will be your turn. But here's the thing. Delay is not denial. Sometimes God holds you back because the world isn't ready. Sometimes you're held in the shadows not because you're lacking, but because your time must align with a greater purpose. The chosen one doesn't rise for applause. The chosen one rises for assignment. And your assignment is unlike anyone else's. That's why your path is different. That's why your process is deeper. That's why your pain has been more intense. Because to be called is one thing, but to be chosen, that's another level. That means you're not an option. You're the answer. You're the shift someone's been praying for. You're the light in someone's darkness. But first, you had to walk through darkness yourself. So when you shine, it's not from ego, but from experience. You're not crazy for feeling everything deeply. You're not weak for needing solitude. You're not broken because you don't fit into their world. You were made to build a new one where truth matters, where purpose leads, where spirit reigns over ego. But before you lead others there, you had to go there first, alone. So if you were still in the dark, still in the waiting, still in the place of not yet, know this: you are not behind. You are in alignment. Divine timing is never early and never late. You're being positioned in silence for something that will echo loudly when the time comes. And when that door opens, and it will, everything that made you feel cursed will reveal itself as a blessing. Everything that made you question your worth will become the proof of your strength. Because chosen ones aren't made in comfort, they're made in the fire. And you, my friend, have been walking through flames, not to burn, but to ignite something eternal. You've been walking through flames, not to burn, but to ignite something eternal. And now that spark inside you, the one they tried to dim, is becoming a wildfire. You didn't come this far just to survive. You came to set something in motion. You came to break cycles, to break chains, to shift atmospheres. And yes, it cost you peace. It cost you friendships. It even cost you pieces of yourself. But nothing that powerful ever comes without a price. They may have called you too sensitive, too intense, too much. But those very traits are what make you the one. You feel deeply because you're meant to heal deeply. You notice what others miss because you're meant to guide. You speak what others are afraid to say because your voice carries authority, divine authority. And that's why the enemy has tried to silence you since day one. That's why the attacks came early, before you even knew who you were, because even hell knew what you were about to become. You weren't rejected by accident. You were rejected on purpose, to protect you. Not every room deserves your presence. Not every person can carry your destiny. Sometimes, isolation is the only way God can remove what you would have clung to. He saw who you were becoming. He saw the old habits, the old environment, the toxic patterns, and he had to tear them away before they poisoned your purpose. You were never meant to be ordinary, and ordinary people will never understand that. That's why you intimidate them without trying. That's why they talk about you when you're not around. Because something about you convicts them, even in your silence. You don't need to defend your calling. Your fruit will speak louder than their doubts. And when the time is right, the ones who rejected you will witness your rise, not to shame them, but to show them what happens when God marks someone for greatness. And you didn't quit. You could have. You had every reason to. But you stayed in the fire. You stayed in the valley. You endured the storm. And in that silent suffering, you were being transformed. Not just changed, transformed. What's coming next is not a return to the old you. It's the emergence of the real you. The version that was hidden beneath all the pain, the version that had to be carved out through trials and tribulations. This is why your energy feels different now, why you don't tolerate the same things, why your spirit feels restless when you're in the wrong room. You're evolving. And that evolution will cost you comfort. It will cost you popularity. But it will give you purpose. And when you step into purpose, nothing hits the same. You start moving with clarity. You start speaking with boldness. You start walking with a quiet confidence that can't be taught, because it was forged in the dark. The truth is, chosen ones can't fake it. You were never meant to wear masks. Your soul demands truth, even when it hurts. That's why you struggle to fit in with fake people. That's why you get drained in shallow environments. You're wired for depth.